Hello everyone, this is Richard from Modern Healthspan. We recently had a health checkup and would like to go through some of our results. Instead of just going through the figures, we will look at specific areas and at possible reasons behind any changes that we saw. We have covered our bone density results in an earlier video. Today we will look at the lipid panel, where we discovered a few interesting points after we did more research. First, a disclaimer that in this video we are sharing our personal experience and updates. It is not a recommendation or medical advice. Here are the results for our lipid panel. For total cholesterol, I am a little above the recommended number of 200. My wife is better and is within range. For HDL, my number is quite good and well within range. My wife's number is quite outstanding. My LDL is a little high, but is less than it was 2 years ago. Well, we did not get a number for my wife, and I will explain this in our next slide. My triglycerides are 61, which is lower than it was 2 years ago, and has also dropped in the last 9 months. My wife's triglycerides were so low, below 50, that they could not be measured accurately. Triglycerides are required to calculate the LDL number. So let's go and see how they do that. I was surprised to learn that LDL cholesterol is not typically measured directly, but is instead calculated from other lipid markers using the Friedewald equation given here. LDL is total cholesterol minus HDL minus triglycerides divided by 5. So I thought I would try this on my numbers to see if they match. Here are my results from the last checkup. If we put these into the equation, we see that it does indeed match. So we wanted to do the same for my wife. Triglycerides were unknown, but less than 50. So we estimated 49 and put this into the formula, giving us a result of 82.2. So at the moment, this is our best estimate for her LDL. The nutritionist at the checkup said that the numbers were good and having less than 50 triglycerides was not something to worry about, as my wife had good heart health. Here are the numbers that I used for target cholesterol figures, which are from the Cleveland Clinic. For LDL, optimal is less than 100 milligrams per deciliter. For HDL, women should be slightly higher than men, and 60 milligrams per deciliter is considered optimal. We are happy that both my wife and I are above this number. And for triglycerides, less than 150 is recommended. Since both our HDL is in the optimal range, it seems that something we are doing together has contributed to this result. So we've reviewed the literature and looked at our habits to try to figure out what it is we're doing that has helped to increase our HDL and possibly lowered our triglycerides. We found 9 candidates, but I'm sure there are many others. If you have ones that we don't mention, please comment below, and we will be very happy to hear from you. Let's quickly run through what we think has helped. First is to consume extra virgin olive oil. We tend to have olive oil on all our salads and get through 1 liter every 6 weeks or so. Olive oil is rich in polyphenols, and a couple of studies have shown that for both young and old people, high-quality olive oil raised the HDL. It also contains oleic acid, which activates SIRT1. An alternative is coconut oil, but we don't use that as my wife is allergic to coconuts. The second is to consume fish oil. We take bulletproof krill oil. As krill are lower on the food chain, they tend to accumulate less heavy metals than fish. Both oils contain EPA and DHA, 2 important omega-3 fatty acids, which help to reduce triglycerides and inflammation with a dose of between 1 and 3 grams. There was some question about dosage and where to find a krill oil with 1.5 grams of omega-3 fatty acids. So here is the ingredient list from the bulletproof krill oil for 2 capsules, which does include 1.5 grams. Eat nuts. We have released 2 videos recently on the health benefits of walnuts, which also contain omega-3 fatty acids. I've always eaten a fair amount of nuts, and now my wife does too. Not only walnuts, but also pistachio, macadamia, and other types. Follow a low-carb diet. We are quite low-carb, but not keto. We certainly have a lot less carbs than we used to have, and try to steer clear of refined carbs and sugars. Studies have shown that in diabetic patients, a low-carb diet does raise HDL. Exercise regularly. Gyms are open again, and we try to go at least once per week for strength training. We also get in a fair amount of walking, aiming for around 10K steps per day. Studies have shown that exercising does raise HDL levels. Maintain a healthy weight. My wife is in the lower end of the normal range, and I'm in the middle of the range for my height. Since I had the first checkup 2 years ago, I have lost 10 kilograms, which I'm sure has helped. Avoid trans fats. We avoid processed foods as much as possible, but do slip up occasionally and have some cake or other baked goods. However, you cannot find any processed snacks in our pantry.
In 2003.
Do you drink?
I drink every night, yeah.
Oh, that's the soundbite right there. I drink every night.
I would say because I only eat one meal a day, probably a third of my calories are alcohol at this point.
And my favorite technique, moderate use of alcohol. Per the Mayo Clinic, moderate alcohol can increase HDL, 1 drink per day for women and 2 for men. We're over this, but it may be contributing to our higher HDL. And finally, taking NMN may help, as it has been shown that niacin, another form of B3, can raise HDL in men by up to 30%. So those are the things that we think may have helped us increase our HDL results.